Stop wasting time. Warren Buffett's productivity secrets. Why do you feel exhausted after 12-hour workdays, but still haven't accomplished anything meaningful? Why are you constantly busy, but never getting ahead financially like the people who seem to work half as much? Here's the brutal reality. Most Americans are trapped in productivity theater, looking busy, feeling stressed, but creating zero real value. They check emails 200 times a day, attend meaningless meetings, and mistake motion for progress. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett wakes up at 5:45 a.m., drives himself to McDonald's, sits in silence for hours, and has built $100 billion using 3 counterintuitive productivity principles that flip everything you think you know about success. Today I'm revealing Buffett's exact system for protecting mental clarity, making fewer but better decisions, and turning patience into your ultimate competitive advantage. By the end of this video, you'll have the framework that separates truly productive people from perpetually busy ones. Hit subscribe and comment clarity over chaos if you're tired of being busy but not productive. Look, everyone thinks productivity is about doing more, but here's what nobody talks about. Number 1. The 5:45 a.m. advantage, protecting your peak mind. Here's the first productivity secret that separates Warren Buffett from everyone else, and it's so simple that most people dismiss it as obvious. But there's a massive difference between knowing something and actually living it. Most Americans wake up and immediately assault their brains with chaos. The alarm goes off, and within 30 seconds, they're reaching for their phone. Emails, news headlines, social media notifications, text messages. They're flooding their peak mental state with other people's agendas before they've even had a chance to think about their own. By 7 a.m., the average American has already consumed more information than their great-grandparents processed in a week. Their mental bandwidth, their most precious resource, has been hijacked by urgent but unimportant noise. But Warren Buffett? He's been protecting his peak mental state for over 60 years with a morning routine so boring it's brilliant. 5:45 a.m. No alarm clock, no phone, no notifications, just consciousness emerging naturally into silence. For the first 2 hours of every day, Buffett's mind belongs entirely to him. No one else gets access to his peak cognitive state until he's used it for what matters most. The ancient Romans understood this principle perfectly. They called the first hour after sunrise, hora prima, the prime hour. Roman generals, philosophers, and leaders jealously guarded this time because they knew that the quality of their first thoughts determined the quality of their entire day. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at his time, wrote in his personal journal, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." He understood that how you start your day determines how you experience your life. Let me tell you about 2 people I know who make almost identical incomes, but have completely different productivity levels because of how they start their day. Sarah is a marketing director making $95,000. She wakes up at 6:30 a.m. to her phone alarm. Before her feet hit the floor, she's checking Instagram, then emails, then news. By the time she gets to work, she's already mentally exhausted from processing dozens of random inputs. She spends her day in reactive mode, responding to emails, putting out fires, attending meetings that could have been emails. She works 10-hour days but feels like she's always behind. Mike is an accountant making $92,000. He wakes up at 5:30 a.m. to a traditional alarm clock. His phone stays in another room. For the first 90 minutes of his day, he reads, plans his priorities, and thinks strategically about his biggest challenges. When he finally checks his phone at 7 a.m., he's already had 2 hours of peak mental performance. He arrives at work with clarity about what actually matters. He works 8-hour days but accomplishes more than most people do in 12. Same education level, similar jobs, completely different productivity outcomes. The difference? Mike protects his prime cognitive hours. Sarah surrenders hers to digital chaos. Buffett takes this principle to an extreme that would shock most Americans. He doesn't just avoid his phone in the morning, he doesn't even own a smartphone. He reads the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, and company annual reports. Dense, important information that requires deep thinking, not shallow scrolling. While most investors are reacting to yesterday's news, Buffett is analyzing patterns that play out over decades. While others are getting emotional about daily market fluctuations, he's making rational decisions from a place of calm clarity. Here's what blew my mind when I first learned this. Buffett makes over 90% of his investment decisions in the first few hours of the day. Not because he's rushing, but because that's when his mind is clearest, most rational, and least influenced by the emotional noise that builds up throughout the day. Think about that. The man who's generated more wealth than almost anyone in history does his most important thinking before 9 a.m. While everyone else is just starting to function, he's already done his deepest work. Here's your actionable step. Starting tomorrow, implement the digital sunrise rule. No digital devices for the first 2 hours after you wake up. I know this sounds impossible in our connected world, but here's the thing. Those first 2 hours are when your brain is most capable of deep, original thinking. Use those hours for what I call prime-time activities. Reading something substantial, books, not articles. Planning your day based on priorities, not reactions. Thinking strategically about your biggest challenges. Working on projects that require deep focus. The goal isn't to be productive in the traditional sense. It's to think clearly before the world starts thinking for you. I started this practice 6 months ago, and the difference is remarkable. Instead of starting my day in reactive mode, I start in creative mode. Instead of feeling behind from the moment I wake up, I feel ahead. Instead of my day controlling me, I control my day. Warren Buffett once said, "I've never made a good decision in a hurry." His morning routine isn't about being early, it's about being intentional. It's about protecting the mental clarity that makes billion-dollar decisions possible. The wealthy understand something most people miss. Your first thoughts of the day set the tone for everything that follows. Protect those thoughts, and you protect your potential. But that's just the obvious part. What I'm about to say is what makes the difference. Number 2, the silent strategy. Choosing signal over noise. What I'm about to say is what makes the difference between people who consume information and people who create wealth from information. Most Americans are drowning in data, but starving for wisdom, and this information overload is literally destroying their ability to make good decisions. Here's the shocking reality. The average American consumes 34 gigabytes of information daily. That's enough to crash a computer from the 1990s. But we're expecting our brains to process it flawlessly. We're checking news every 12 minutes, scrolling social media 2.5 hours daily, and consuming 285 pieces of content before lunch. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett consumes information like a master chef selects ingredients, deliberately, strategically, with complete control over what enters his mental kitchen. While you're getting your financial advice from Twitter threads and TikTok videos, Buffett is reading 500 pages per day of annual reports, industry analyses, and business biographies. While you're reacting to headlines designed to trigger emotions, he's studying patterns that repeat across decades. The difference isn't just in quantity, it's in intentionality. Buffett doesn't consume information for entertainment. He consumes it for the edge. There's an ancient Buddhist teaching about a pond that perfectly illustrates this principle. When the surface of a pond is constantly disturbed by wind and ripples, you can't see the bottom clearly. But when the surface becomes perfectly still, you can see all the way to the deepest parts with crystal clarity. Your mind is that pond. Every notification, every news alert, every social media update creates ripples that disturb your ability to see clearly. The more inputs you allow, the murkier your thinking becomes. Let me tell you about Jennifer, a financial advisor who transformed her career by applying Buffett's information strategy. Jennifer used to start every day by checking financial news websites, following dozens of market analysts on Twitter, and consuming every piece of investment content she could find. She felt informed, but she was actually paralyzed. Too much conflicting information led to decision paralysis. She'd read bullish analysis, then bearish analysis, then get confused about what to actually recommend to clients. Then Jennifer implemented what she calls her information diet. She unsubscribed from 90% of her financial newsletters. She unfollowed all social media financial gurus. She stopped checking financial news websites. Instead, she focused on 3 high-quality sources: Warren Buffett's annual letters, Ben Graham's writings, and direct company financial statements. That's it. 3 signal sources instead of 30 noise sources. The result? Her investment recommendations became more confident, more consistent, and significantly more profitable. By consuming less information but higher quality information, she made better decisions. Benjamin Franklin understood this principle 300 years ago. He wrote, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, but only if the knowledge is worth knowing." Franklin distinguished between useful knowledge and trivial knowledge. He would spend hours reading about philosophy, science, and business principles, but he avoided gossip, rumors, and speculation. Buffett has taken this to an extreme that would seem impossible to most Americans. No smartphone, no social media accounts, no financial TV during market hours, no stock price checking apps. His Omaha office looks like it's from 1962 because it essentially is just a desk, some books, and silence. But here's what's brilliant about this. While everyone else is getting emotional whiplash from minute-by-minute market updates, Buffett maintains the emotional equilibrium necessary for rational decision-making. During the 2008 financial crisis, while everyone else was panicking because of constant negative news coverage, Buffett was calmly reading annual reports and making his biggest investments. He invested $5 billion in Bank of America, not because he was braver than everyone else, but because he wasn't emotionally hijacked by media hysteria. Here's your actionable step. Conduct an information audit this week. For 7 days, track every piece of information you consume: news articles, social media posts, podcasts, videos, and newsletters. Write down the source and rate each piece as either signal, useful for your goals, or noise, entertaining but irrelevant. You'll be shocked by the results. Most people discover that 80% of their information consumption is pure noise that adds no value to their life or decision-making ability. Then, ruthlessly eliminate the noise sources. Unsubscribe from newsletters that don't directly improve your life. Unfollow social media accounts that create anxiety without providing solutions. Stop checking news websites that make you feel informed, but don't change your actions. Replace noise with signal. Find 3 to 5 high-quality sources that actually help you make better decisions in your career, investments, or personal life. Read fewer things, but read them more deeply. Buffett spends hours reading single annual reports that most investors skim in minutes. He's not trying to consume more information than everyone else. He's trying to understand information better than everyone else. The wealthy understand that in our information-saturated world, the ability to filter signal from noise is a superpower. While everyone else is drowning in data, they're surfing on insight. This isn't about being uninformed, it's about being strategically informed. It's about choosing depth over breadth, quality over quantity, wisdom over trivia. Your attention is your most valuable asset. The companies and individuals that protect it most carefully are the ones that create the most value with it. Wait, there's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to lose everything. Number 3. The compound thinking. Patience as productivity. There's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to lose everything you've built through morning clarity and information filtering. Because even the best mental clarity and finest information sources are worthless if you fall into the trap that destroys 99% of Americans: the need for speed. We live in a culture that worships hustle, celebrates quick wins, and treats patience like a weakness. Move fast and break things has become the American business mantra. Day trading, get-rich-quick schemes, instant gratification. We've convinced ourselves that faster always equals better. But here's the counterintuitive truth that built Warren Buffett's fortune. In a world obsessed with acceleration, the patient few become impossibly wealthy. While everyone else is making dozens of decisions daily, Buffett sometimes goes 18 months without making a single investment decision. Not because he's frozen or indecisive, but because he's mastered what he calls rational inactivity, the discipline to think harder so you can act less. Most Americans mistake activity for productivity. They're constantly doing something, checking emails, making calls, attending meetings, networking events. They feel productive because they're busy, but busy doesn't equal effective. Buffett has a different philosophy. Make fewer decisions, but make them count. He once said, "You only need 20 good decisions to get rich, but you need to avoid 20,000 bad ones to stay rich." Think about that math. If you only get 20 major decisions in your entire life, how much more carefully would you consider each one? How much more research would you do? How much longer would you wait for the perfect opportunity? There's an ancient Chinese story that perfectly captures this principle. A master archer was teaching his student about patience and precision. He gave the student 100 arrows and said, "Use all of these to hit the target." The eager student immediately started firing arrows rapidly, trying to hit the bullseye as quickly as possible. He missed with 95 of them, hit the outer rings with 4, and barely grazed the bullseye with 1. Then the master took 10 arrows. He studied the wind, analyzed the target, adjusted his stance, and waited for perfect conditions. He hit the bullseye with 9 out of 10 arrows. "Master," the student asked, "why didn't you use all 100 arrows like I did?" The master replied, "Because patience turns ordinary arrows into perfect shots. Haste turns even perfect arrows into wasted opportunities." This is exactly how Buffett approaches investing, and it's exactly how successful people approach major life decisions. They're not trying to maximize the number of decisions they make. They're trying to maximize the quality of the decisions they make. Let me tell you about Mark, a successful real estate investor who learned this lesson the hard way. In his first year, Mark tried to buy every decent property he could find. He made offers on 47 properties, bought 12, and ended up losing money on 8 of them because he didn't do proper due diligence. The next year, Mark changed his approach. He studied the market for 6 months without buying anything. He developed strict criteria for profitable properties. He made offers on only 6 properties and bought 2. Both deals generated positive cash flow from day one and appreciated significantly over time. Same market, same resources, completely different results. The difference? Mark learned to be productively patient instead of destructively active. Buffett takes this principle to extremes that would frustrate most Americans. He passed on Tesla, Amazon in its early days, and countless tech stocks that made other investors rich, not because he didn't see their potential, but because they fell outside his circle of competence. He'd rather miss a great opportunity in a business he doesn't understand than risk capital in a business he can't properly evaluate. This isn't conservative thinking. It's strategic thinking. Here's your actionable step. Implement the 20 decision rule for the next 90 days. Act as if you only get 20 major decisions this year. Job changes, investment choices, major purchases, business opportunities. Before making any significant decision, ask yourself, is this one of my 20 most important decisions this year? Have I researched this thoroughly enough to bet significant resources on it? What's the opportunity cost of saying yes to this versus waiting for something better? This framework forces you to slow down, think deeper, and choose quality over quantity in your decision-making. Warren Buffett's greatest skill isn't picking stocks, it's saying no to 99% of opportunities so he can say yes to the 1% that really matter. He's gone entire years without making major investments because the right opportunities weren't available at the right prices. While everyone else is FOMOing into every trend, every opportunity, every once-in-a-lifetime deal, Buffett is calmly waiting for fat pitches, opportunities so obviously good that success is almost guaranteed. This patience compounds over time. Every bad decision you avoid is just as valuable as every good decision you make. Every overpriced investment you skip leaves capital available for the underpriced opportunity that comes later. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this principle. They believed that the ability to delay gratification, to wait for the right moment, to think long-term in a short-term world, was the ultimate form of power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," meaning focus on making the best decision available right now, not the fastest decision possible. In our instant gratification culture, patience itself has become a competitive advantage. While everyone else is sprinting toward average results, the patient few are walking toward extraordinary outcomes. So, here's the truth that separates Warren Buffett from every productivity guru screaming about hustle culture. Real productivity isn't about doing more things. It's about protecting your ability to do the right things exceptionally well. While most Americans are trapped in reactive chaos, checking phones 200 times daily and making rushed decisions, Buffett has spent 60 years perfecting 3 simple principles. Protecting his peak mental hours at 5:45 a.m., filtering signal from noise in his information diet, and practicing rational inactivity to make fewer but better decisions. The result? $100 billion built through patience, not pressure. Clarity, not chaos. Deep thinking, not quick reactions. Here's what I want you to do. Pick one principle from today's video and commit to it for 7 straight days. Don't try to transform your entire life overnight. That's the American speed trap. Choose morning protection, information filtering, or patient decision-making. Master one, then add another. Comment slow productivity if you're ready to stop being busy and start being effective. Tell me which principle you're implementing first. I love seeing your breakthrough moments. Should I break down Buffett's reading system next? Or reveal how he structures his investment decisions? Drop your suggestions below. Remember this, in a world obsessed with speed, the patient few build generational wealth. While others are sprinting toward burnout, you'll be walking toward financial freedom. Your future self doesn't need you to be busy. They need you to be wise. Stop wasting time. Start compounding clarity.